In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. We will sing as we enter the church at 10 o'clock this morning. Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart. All else be not to me save that thou art. Thou my best thought, by day or by night, waking or sleeping, thy presence my light. I have been wondering mightily what it means to really see, what true vision really is. And as I wonder, I recall the words from the movie Avatar. You may remember them. As our characters, Jake Sully and Neytiri, journey together on the planet Pandora, Neytiri says to Jake Sully, "I see you." Neytiri teaches Jake Sully the ways of her culture, her language, her natural world. She shows him the mystery of life on Pandora. He walks beside her, learning the ways of the people there. And somewhere, sometime on that journey, Jake Sully says to Neytiri, "I see you. I see you." What does it mean to really see? For these characters, it means so much more than what is absorbed through the open eyes. It means that the heart and the soul, the body and the mind are engaged in knowing, listening, being, and suffering. It is a journey of seeing, a journey of knowing. In this story that we just heard Margie read so well, the scales do not fall from the eyes in one instant, as they did for Paul on the Damascus road. In this story, it is the relationship that affects the seeing. What does it mean to really see? Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart. All else be not to me save that thou art. Thou my best thought, by day or by night, waking or sleeping, thy presence my light. I see you, the people of Pandora say to their beloved. And this hymn sings of a similar seeing. Seeing, vision, takes all our senses and our sensibilities. Seeing engages our entire being. And seeing presumes relationship. It presumes walking together. As I have pondered this question, I think of Kathy Davis, who is blind, as we know. When Kathy wants to see something, she takes it in her hands. She touches it and turns it. She puts her fingers into the holes. She feels the sharp edges, and she asks about the color. What does it really mean to see? In the story of seeing we have before us today, having one's eyes open does not presume seeing. In this story, we have many characters. There is the man whose eyes Jesus opens. Jesus made mud and opened his eyes. When some of the Pharisees questioned him, his response is that Jesus is a prophet. It takes quite some time before he is to confess something else. And yet we have the Samaritan woman of last week at the well, and she has already named Jesus as the Messiah. Many Samaritans from that city believed in him because they saw the woman's passion and joy at her discovery that the man at the well is the Messiah. Jesus has already healed the official's son. The man by the sheep gate who could not enter the pool took up his mat and walked away. Jesus feeds 5,000 people. He walks across the water, and yet this man whose eyes were opened calls Jesus prophet. It is only later, after being questioned, after the dawning of who Jesus must really be, does the man really begin to see who Jesus really is. The man's parents and neighbors could not see that it was Jesus in their midst, and the Pharisees could see nothing at all except the sin of the parents and the sin of healing on the Sabbath. What does it mean to really see? There is a clue in the reading from Samuel. The story we hear today is the middle of a longer story about the Lord choosing a king for Israel. The Lord does not really want a king for Israel, but the Israelites insist. So the Lord looks over each of these candidates for kingship, and each one of them is rejected. Eventually, the one chosen is David. And we all know David does not turn out perfectly. But in the middle of the story we hear today, we hear, "For the Lord does not see as mortals see. They look on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart." Is that what it really means to see? Surely that would be the meaning of the words, "I see you," as Jake Sully says them to Neytiri. Surely that would be the prayer in the words of our hymn today. "Be what I see, Lord, be my best thought day and night, in my waking and my sleeping." What if we look upon one another with open eyes from the heart? Would that change us? What if we look upon one another with eyes that forgive? Would that transform our lives? What if we were to look upon one another with the eyes of compassion? Would we live more kindly, more gently? And what if we truly believe that God looks upon us with forgiveness and compassion? Would we be transformed? It is indeed the journey with Jesus and with one another that creates in us the gift of seeing. The blind man's eyes indeed were opened, but it took some time before he was really able to see. Before he was able to see who it was who gave him sight, before he was able to say, "I was blind, now I see." You see, this is fundamentally a story about grace. These stories before us today, all of them, the ancient stories from the Old Testament, the stories from the time of Jesus, and the very new stories that are told today. These are stories about grace. These are stories that reveal the truth of God in our midst. They are stories that reveal the truth of pain and suffering, of death and resurrection. They are stories that reveal the truth of disappointment and loss, and the new life that always results. They are stories that reveal the truth of communion and community. Together we walk this road. We make this journey together. We can't do it alone. We can't bear the pain and suffering alone. And we don't want to bear the joy all by ourselves either. To see one another with the eyes of the heart, to look upon one another with forgiveness and compassion, is to acknowledge our shared humanity. It is to recognize Jesus in our midst. This season of Lent is a gift of opportunity. Lent gives us another chance to see God in our midst, to see the gift of forgiveness and grace, to see one another as we journey together on this road of faith, to see one another on this road of compassion and mercy. Lent helps us to have clearer vision. It gives us a longer view. And as we see more clearly, we realize that forgiveness and compassion are made manifest in who we are and what we do. What does it mean to really see? It means that our hearts are open to one another, especially those with whom we disagree. It means that we respond to God's amazing grace by really seeing those with whom we are so unlike. It means that we approach God's creation with our eyes, our hearts, our souls wide open. And when we do that, we are able to see the need that is in our church and our community. The needs that you and I are able to address. We can feed people. We can clothe people. We can have hope and be the hope for others. And as we do that, we reach out to each other. We hold hands, because most definitely we will step in the mess and the muck. We will step in the holes, and we will trip over the obstacles. This Christian journey is a journey we take together, because together we can see more clearly. The Lord is full of compassion and mercy. Come, let us